Think you know pickup trucks? Think again. Forget those boring, everyday haulers. What if I told you there is a completely forgotten truck from 1991 that literally humiliated a $250,000 Ferrari in a drag race? Or a bizarre machine legally classified as a passenger car just because it had plastic lawn chairs in the bed? Today we are exposing the 10 rarest, most completely insane pickup trucks in automotive history. You will not believe the absolute monster waiting at the end of this video. Smash that subscribe button right now, stick around until the final second, and let us uncover the madness. Kicking off our countdown is a truck that literally looks like a backyard science experiment. Gone right, the Studebaker Champ, also known as the Frankenstein workhorse. Back in 1960, Studebaker was bleeding cash and desperate for a new truck. They could not afford to design a new cab from scratch, so they did something absolutely unhinged. They took the front half of their compact passenger sedan, the Studebaker Lark, chopped it off and slapped it onto a heavy-duty chassis. It was a brilliant masterpiece that gave America a car-like interior in a rugged hauler. Pop the hood, and you could find a rugged 289 cubic inch V8 pushing out a respectable 210 horsepower, mated to a heavy-duty manual transmission. This was not just a fragile car masquerading as a truck. It had a genuine truck frame, sturdy leaf springs, and could haul heavy payloads just as well as the big boys from Ford and Chevy. The sliding rear window was an industry first, letting that sweet breeze cool down the cabin long before air conditioning. It was the ultimate working man compromise between weekend comfort and weekday grit. Unfortunately, this brilliant Frankenstein monster could not save the struggling brand. Studebaker shut down its United States plant in 1963, making the Champ one of the last gasps of an iconic American automaker. Today, they are incredibly scarce. You rarely see them at car shows, but if you do manage to find a pristine V8 model, prepare for some price tag shock. These quirky pieces of Americana are steadily climbing, easily fetching over $25,000. If you think mashing a sedan and a truck together is weird, wait until you see the next one. Enter the finned anomaly, the completely outrageous Dodge D100 Sweptside. It is 1957, the space race is booming, and America is obsessed with massive, glorious tail fins. Chevrolet had just revolutionized the market with a sleek new truck, and Dodge was caught completely off guard. Their panic solution was pure madness. The Dodge Special Equipment Group literally grabbed the rear fenders off a two-door Dodge station wagon and bolted them directly onto a standard half-ton pickup bed. The result is one of the most stunning, wildly out-of-place designs ever to hit the asphalt. This was pure 1950s excess rolling on four wheels. Underneath that two-tone chrome-drenched exterior, you could spec it with a roaring 315 cubic inch Hemi 5.8, pumping out 204 horsepower. It came with a push-button automatic transmission right on the dashboard, white-wall tires, and enough chrome trim to blind oncoming traffic. Dodge did not build this to haul dirt. They built it to cruise down the boulevard and turn every single head in town. It was the ultimate statement piece for the wealthy rancher. But here is the crazy part: the public absolutely hated it. It was way too expensive, entirely impractical, and the cargo bed was awkwardly narrow. Dodge only managed to sell a few thousand of them before pulling the plug in 1959. It was a massive commercial flop. However, time changes everything. Because so few survived, it has become an absolute unicorn. Today, if you want to park a pristine Sweptside in your garage, you better have deep pockets because these finned beauties regularly auction for well over $100,000. Speaking of sleek 1950 style, our next truck brought pure fiberglass into the pickup game. Say hello to the gentleman's pickup, the beautiful, groundbreaking Chevrolet Cameo carrier. Before 1955, trucks were essentially noisy, uncomfortable metal boxes meant exclusively for farmers and construction workers. They were tools, nothing more. But Chevy decided it was time to put a tuxedo on a blue-collar brawler. They took a standard step-side truck bed and ingeniously wrapped it in smooth, sleek fiberglass panels, creating the first true fleet-side look. It looked so unbelievably luxurious, it almost felt illegal to throw a heavy bag of cement into the back of it. This truck truly changed the game. This was not just a pretty face, it was a mechanical marvel. You could get it equipped with Chevy's legendary brand-new 265 cubic-inch small-block V8 engine, generating 145 horsepower. This was a revelation. It had a gorgeous panoramic wraparound windshield, beautiful two-tone paint jobs like Bombay ivory with commercial red accents, and a cabin equipped with a radio, a heater, and comfortable styling straight out of their passenger cars. This was a luxury cruiser disguised as a hauler, pioneering the premium lifestyle truck concept that dominates American roads today. Despite changing the pickup truck industry forever, the Cameo reign was surprisingly short. Those gorgeous fiberglass panels were fragile, easily damaged on rough job sites, and extremely expensive to produce. By 1958, Chevy figured out how to stamp the same sleek design out of solid steel, making the fragile Cameo obsolete overnight. It faded into history, but its legacy is undeniable. Finding an original 1955 Cameo today is like finding a needle in a haystack. They are highly coveted crown jewels for Chevy collectors, often commanding up to $80,000 at elite classic vehicle auctions. Welcome to the 1980s, an era of wild hair, synthesized music, and the incredibly confusing Dodge Rampage. After the fuel crises of the 70s, America was desperate for gas mileage, but blue-collar workers still needed a bed to haul their gear. Dodge looked at their front-wheel drive economy car, the Omni, grabbed a reciprocating saw, and literally chopped off the back half. They stretched the wheelbase, grafted on a tiny pickup bed, and created a unibody car-truck hybrid that left everyone scratching their heads. Was it a sporty coupe? Was it a work truck? Nobody really knew. Underneath that sloped aerodynamic hood was a 2.2-liter inline-4 engine pumping out a blistering 84 horsepower. Okay, it was not going to win any drag races against a Ford Mustang, but thanks to its lightweight unibody construction and front-wheel drive, it handled more like a zippy go-kart than a heavy hauler. It had a remarkably car-like ride, independent front suspension, and could genuinely get over 25 miles per gallon, which was pure magic back in 1982. Legendary builder Carroll Shelby even got his hands on a few prototypes to inject some muscle into this weird hybrid. But ultimately, the Rampage was too weak for the hardcore truck guys and too utilitarian for the sports car crowd. It lived a short, misunderstood life, getting axed after just 3 years in 1984. Most of them were driven into the ground, completely rusted out in harsh winters, or simply crushed. Finding a survivor today is a bizarre automotive treasure hunt. The craziest part is that because they are so weird, they are actually affordable. You can snag a decent piece of 80s weirdness for under $10,000. Ready for another Dodge? Drop the top and cue the synthwave because here comes the sunburnt hauler, the Dodge Dakota Sport Convertible. Yes, you heard that right. In 1989, Dodge looked at the booming mid-size truck market and asked a question absolutely no one was asking: what if we make the roof disappear? They partnered with the American Sunroof Company to chop the solid steel roof off standard Dodge Dakotas, replacing it with a folding vinyl ragtop and a heavy-duty roll bar. It was the ultimate party truck for a beach bonfire, dripping with absolute neon-era swagger. Powering this bizarre beach cruiser was a robust 3.9-liter fuel-injected V6 engine, throwing down 125 horsepower to the rear wheels. It had exclusive decals, alloy wheels, and a rugged stance, but here is where it gets hilarious. Pause the video for 3 seconds right now. How long do you think it took a normal guy to manually fold down that confusing vinyl roof? If you guessed anything under 5 minutes, you are entirely wrong. It was a clumsy, frustrating two-person job of undoing snaps, folding heavy fabric, and wrestling with stubborn straps. Unsurprisingly, contractors realized that hauling drywall with the top down was not very practical, and everyday drivers got tired of the terrible highway wind noise and leaky weather seals. Production barely lasted 3 years, with fewer than 4,000 units ever built. It was a spectacular, sun-soaked commercial failure. Today, it is an absolute cult classic. If you roll up to a car meet in a pristine drop-top Dakota, you will get massive attention. Expect to pay a premium price tag of up to $20,000 for a clean, rust-free example of this beautiful oddity. Brace yourselves for the tipping point, the wildly disorienting Willys FC-150. In the post-war boom of 1956, America was building everything bigger and longer. Willys, the legendary makers of the military Jeep, went the exact opposite direction. They introduced the forward control design. They took the tiny 81-inch wheelbase chassis of a standard Jeep CJ5, pushed the cab all the way to the absolute front edge of the frame, and dropped the engine right between the front seats. The proportions are so incredibly jarring it looks like it could tip over forward. Do not let the cartoonish, flat-faced looks fool you. This was a serious, hardcore piece of agricultural machinery. It was powered by the legendary Hurricane 4-cylinder engine, producing just 72 horsepower. But with its ultra-low gearing and rugged four-wheel drive system, it could climb a vertical brick wall. By pushing the cab forward, Willys managed to fit a massive full-size 6-foot cargo bed on a chassis the size of a golf cart. Driving it, however, was an absolutely terrifying experience. You sat directly over the front axle with your knees acting as the front bumper. While farmers and industrial workers loved its unmatched maneuverability in incredibly tight spaces, the everyday American consumer was completely terrified of it. It was top-heavy, painfully slow, and felt dangerously unstable at higher speeds. By 1963, Willys pulled the plug, moving back to more conventional truck designs. The FC-150 vanished into old barns and rusted out in forgotten fields. Today, they are beloved by Jeep purists and quirky vehicle collectors. A fully restored FC-150 is a rare, show-stopping oddity that easily commands a staggering price tag of $40,000. Meet the tax-dodging rebel, the infamous Subaru Brat. In the late 1970s, the United States government was heavily enforcing the chicken tax, a brutal 25% tariff on all imported light pickup trucks. Foreign automakers were getting crushed. Subaru wanted to sell their new quirky little truck in America, but paying a massive tax would ruin their pricing. So their engineers did something brilliantly devious. They took two hard plastic seats, bolted them completely backward into the open cargo bed, slapped some seatbelts on them, and confidently smiled right at the strict border customs agents. Because it now had rear seating, the government legally had to classify the Brat as a passenger car, dropping the tax from a crippling 25% down to a tiny 2.5%. It was a massive middle finger to the tax code. The Brat was a scrappy four-wheel drive mountain goat powered by a reliable 1.6-liter flat-four boxer engine. It had a hidden halo twin roof, rugged styling, and became an absolute icon for outdoor adventurers and surfers. Even President Ronald Reagan famously owned one for his California ranch, driving it proudly around his property. But the rebellion could not last forever. Riding backward in a plastic seat in an open truck bed on the highway was precisely as dangerous as it sounds. By 1985, tightened safety regulations forced Subaru to ditch the jump seats, completely destroying the tax loophole and their sales numbers. Most Brats eventually succumbed to massive rust issues. Today, finding a clean Subaru Brat is incredibly tough, but finding one with those original tax-dodging plastic jump seats is like finding the Holy Grail. Enthusiasts gladly pay over $25,000. Welcome to 1974, where Mazda committed mechanical treason with the high-revving heretic, the Mazda Rotary pickup, or REPU. Truck buyers traditionally want one thing: low-end grunting torque to haul heavy payloads. So what did Mazda do? They took the engine out of their RX-4 sports car, a high-revving, low-torque Wankel rotary engine, and shoved it straight into a compact pickup truck. It made absolutely no sense on paper, but it created one of the most uniquely exhilarating driving experiences in truck history. Nobody expected a work vehicle to scream like a race car. Under the hood was Mazda's legendary 1.3-liter 13B two-rotor engine, producing 110 horsepower. But it was not about the raw power, it was all about the red line. While Ford and Chevy Fi-8s were gasping for air at 4,000 revolutions per minute, the REPU smoothly screamed all the way to 7,000, sounding like a swarm of very angry bees. It featured widened fenders, a sporty dashboard, and distinct round taillights. It handled like a sports car and drove like a maniac, completely redefining what a mini-truck could actually be. So why did it die? Timing. The REPU launched right into the teeth of the 1970s oil crisis. Rotary engines are famously thirsty, and getting 10 miles per gallon in a compact truck was financial suicide for buyers. Plus, you could not tow much weight without completely blowing the clutch. Mazda killed it by 1977 with only about 15,000 units sold. Today, Japanese market collectors and rotary cultists fiercely hunt these down. A mint-condition REPU will easily blast past the $30,000 mark. Get ready for our next legend. Enter the dark, smog-choked days of the late 1970s and meet the loophole legend, the Dodge Lil Red Express. Muscle cars were dead. The Environmental Protection Agency mandated catalytic converters that strangled V8 engines into miserable, wheezing shadows of their former selves. But the brilliant engineers at Dodge discovered a massive loophole in the federal regulations. Light-duty trucks with a gross vehicle weight rating over 6,000 pounds did not legally need catalytic converters. Dodge bulked up a standard truck suspension to cross that threshold and went completely rogue. Freed from emissions chokeholds, they dropped in a modified 360 cubic-inch Police Interceptor V8 engine, packing a 4-barrel carburetor and pushing out 225 horsepower. But the real showstopper was the exhaust. They bolted massive dual-chrome smokestacks directly behind the cab, shooting straight up into the sky like an 18-wheeler semi-truck. Dripping in canyon red paint with real oak wood bed paneling, it was gloriously obnoxious. In 1978, Car and Driver magazine tested it and declared it the fastest American-made vehicle from 0 to 100 miles per hour. The fun could not last forever. By 1979, the government wised up, forcefully closed the loophole, and slapped catalytic converters on the Lil Red Express, instantly killing its phenomenal performance. The second oil crisis put the final nail in the coffin, ending production completely. Today, this middle finger to the EPA is an icon of American automotive rebellion. If you want to relive the glory days of the loophole legend, be prepared to write a massive check for up to $45,000. But our final boss truck is even crazier. It is time for the ultimate payoff. Bow down to the Ferrari killer, the terrifying, mind-bending 1991 GMC Syclone. To the untrained eye, it simply looks like a boxy, blacked-out lowered work truck from the early 90s. But underneath that sinister, squared-off exterior is a mechanical monster that literally shattered the global automotive hierarchy. In 1991, General Motors handed their humble Sonoma compact truck to a high-performance engineering team, who proceeded to build an absolute weapon that had no business being on public roads. It was a truck designed purely to humiliate expensive exotic supercars. They took a 4.3-liter V6 engine, strapped a massive Mitsubishi turbocharger to it, and bolted on a liquid-to-air intercooler. Officially, GMC claimed it made 280 horsepower, but everyone knew they were lying to keep Corvette owners from crying. It was pushing way over 300. They paired this explosive power with a sophisticated full-time all-wheel drive system. The result was 0 to 60 miles per hour in a face-melting 4.3 seconds. Car and Driver magazine famously drag raced a stock Syclone against a brand-new Ferrari 348. The boxy GMC truck completely destroyed the Ferrari. But extreme performance came with absurd compromises. It had a maximum payload capacity of just 500 pounds, meaning 2 heavy guys and a cooler would max it out. You could not take it off-road, and you certainly could not tow a trailer with it. GMC only built 2,995 of these blacked-out beasts before shutting the program down. Today, the Syclone is a holy grail of the 90s tuner scene. If you want to own the legendary truck that made Ferrari engineers lose sleep, it will cost you up to $80,000. From a chopped-up sedan to a turbocharged Ferrari slayer, the history of the pickup truck is filled with absolute glorious insanity. These rare machines prove that sometimes the craziest engineering happens when you think completely outside the box or the truck bed. Which of these mechanical misfits would you park in your dream garage? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this high-octane history lesson, smash that like button, subscribe for more automotive madness, and keep the pedal to the metal.